Hey guys, welcome back. Woodworking here. Today, going to be doing something a little different. Today's video is going to be focused solely on drafts. I got a message, as you can see on the screen, from a player named Bobrovsky, who lives in Netherlands, and he said that they're having trouble with a specific draft that leads to them losing a lot of games. So I'll just go ahead and read this. My team is VG bronze level, but we have one thing we're struggling with a lot at the moment. We don't have a good draft on B side against Ardan first pick. He goes on to say, we ban Baron or Grumpjaw, depends on what the enemy is banning. We are prioritizing the Baron ban. If we are on B side and the enemy picks A side Ardan and then gets Vox with Ardan, a Gwyn Fortress CP won't counter that. At least when we play a Gwyn Fortress comp. Which roam do you suggest against Ardan first pick? So, there's a couple things just right off the bat to say here. If you're having trouble on a specific side against a first pick hero, the easy answer is ban that hero. So, I don't know how the bans are going. He didn't really say. All he said is that they're banning Baron B side. Whatever A side ends up banning, let's say Grumpjaw, why not just ban Ardan if he gives you trouble? And then, even if they first pick Baron, then you can go something like, I don't know, Vox and Lance, and then you see how the draft goes from there. But if Ardan's giving you trouble, why not just ban him? And although that makes you successful in the short run, it's nice to be able to play against any heroes. So let's assume that you want to work on this specific thing. You want to be able to beat Ardan A side, which is, a valid endeavor on your part. You should be able to play against any hero, able to draft something that will make you successful no matter what the enemy does. So I don't know what they're banning. We know they're not banning Vox, since you said you usually play against Vox. So let's say A side bans Lance, who's one of the strongest roams right now, because they know they want to pick Ardan. And at least in this scenario, you're not going to pick Ardan as your ban, like I initially suggested. So you ban Baron, like you said. A side picks Ardan. One of the things you mentioned is that you're having trouble with Ardan Vox. So why not just take Vox away from A side, since you have to get a laner anyway? Like, why would you prioritize Gwyn, who's been nerfed in 2.5? Vox is, if not one of the most strongest laners right now. So why not take him right off the bat? And then you asked what roam choices are good against Ardan. You shouldn't be drafting against a roam. Like, the whole point of draft isn't to counter a roam. You have two choices with your draft. You can either counter a specific pick of the other team, which is almost never going to be the roamer, because the roamer isn't the one you have to worry about. Although roamers vary greatly in what their skills are, every roamer is pretty going to build the same thing. So for the most of the game, roamers are all doing the same thing no matter what hero they're playing, activatable wise, which is why you shouldn't draft against a roamer. But so my suggestion would be you could either go Finn, who's very good with Vox. You could go Lance if he wasn't banned in this draft. You could easily go Lance. I like Lance into Ardan, or Catherine. Those would be my three suggestions. They all have a stun that can stun Ardan out of his gauntlet. And if you're VG bronze, your roamer should be able to stun Ardan out of his gauntlet. Maybe not every time, but at least once a game, the opportunity will probably present itself, especially if you're fighting where you should be, to stun Ardan out of his gauntlet. So if you go Finn, then you just wait for what the enemy team's going to do. Now, there's way too many possibilities of what they could do here, but let's say, I don't really even know what the meta is in European ranked play. But I was A side. Let's try to do a good draft of them. Maybe Kestrel. Kestrel Blackfeather. Weapon power. Crystal power Blackfeather. Blackfeather's pretty good into Finn. He's got the built-in blocks, so he can get away. So what do you do here? What makes you successful against Ardan? Why is Ardan specifically giving you trouble? Well, Ardan's kit is designed to support one hero, right? His Vanguard, his strongest ability, since he gets it the most often, is Vanguard, but it only affects one person. So you can't have a comp that targets one specific hero and does, isn't able to switch damage to another target, because that's where Ardan excels. So what's an option here? You could easily go, even would be really good here. He's got a lot of sustain. He meshes well with Finn because fortified health goes extra leaps and bounds into Ozo from Finn. Ozo's good into Blackfeather. They both sustain. And he has a built-in stun that you can combo with Vox here. And I'm not going to go over every possibility. I'm just trying to teach you how to think during the draft period. This isn't about here is exactly what you should do when they go Ardan. It's about thinking through draft logically and figuring out what win conditions your team can create in the draft period that's going to make you successful in the game. So let's reset this and we'll try something different and I'll talk about it. So same thing. They're going to ban, let's say they ban Catherine and you still ban Baron and they first pick Ardan. Here's another example of something you could do. Flex picks are huge in draft right now because there's a lot of heroes that are flex that can fill multiple roles. One of the things you can do is just pick 2 flex picks and then see where they go with their draft. So Ardan's going to be a roam, right? I don't think anybody's running Ardan as a jungler or, I don't know, maybe in EU they are, but let's assume that's not going to happen because it's not likely. So let's say you go 2 flex picks, right? Glaive can literally be played well in every role. Lane, jungle, and roam. And then you grab Grumpjaw. So you just put a ton of crowd control on your side of the board, and they don't know which position you're playing these heroes in. You have 2 interrupts. Glaive has a stun, and Grumpjaw has his eat. Combining those 2 things together can either knock Ardan out of his gauntlet or isolate a target far away from Ardan where he's not able to use his Vanguard to assist that hero. Once Grumpjaw eats somebody or Glaive knocks somebody really far, it's going to be hard for Ardan to support him, even with Vanguard. So, what do they do? Let's give them the Vox you said you were having trouble with. You said this comp specifically is something that's giving you trouble. All right. What else do they pick into Glaive Grumpjaw without knowing which place people are going? See, those are both melee heroes. We're going to go Rhyme. Okay. Well, what if you grab a Sky, and now you have Glaive Lane, Grumpjaw Roam, and Sky Jungle? You have triple stun. Grumpjaw's eat isn't really a stun, but it does interrupt. So let's say Grumpjaw eats somebody, Vox or Rhyme, pulls him back under a turret. You can drop Death from Above with Sky on that person, them again, and then Glaive can afterburn them. There's no way any of these people are going to be able to get away with that. Especially with Grumpjaw's being really, really hard to block. And even at VG Bronze, most people can't block it consistently, if at all. You totally win the jungle matchup here. And if Sky's aggressive early in jungle, it's going to be huge. Because even, let's say Ardan goes down to help Rhyme in jungle because Sky's bullying him. Well, now you have Glaive and Grumpjaw in lane versus a Vox. Glaive afterburns combined with Grumpjaw's CC, even if he isn't level 6 yet, doesn't have his ult, he's still going to be able to slow Vox. Vox is going to start to get bullied in lane. So this comp, the strengths of this comp, the win conditions of this comp are much stronger than the win conditions of the A-side draft. And if you guys play to your win conditions, even if they're trying to play to their win conditions, they can't beat you. The thing you can't do as this side is start to just group up and try to beat on somebody, because Rhyme will own these two. So you have to, like I said, if you're playing to your win conditions, even if they play to theirs, you can't lose. If you stop playing to your win conditions, is not isolating a target and chaining your CC, then yeah, you'll lose. But if you play to your win conditions and they play to their win conditions, you win. And that's what you want out of draft. You want, as long as you do what you're supposed to do, the enemy team can't, even if they do what they're supposed to do. Let's do one more of these. Let's say they don't ban Lance, and we're still going to give them Ardan, even though that's an option too, just not to give Ardan. They're going to ban Grumpjaw, right? They have Grumpjaw, and let's not ban Baron. I don't even know why we're banning Baron. Is Baron like an automatic first pick in the EU? I don't know. But let's ban Vox. Vox is giving you trouble. Vox. All right, so now we grab Baron and Catherine, let's say. All right. They want to target Baron, right? Baron's huge late game damage, pretty vulnerable early to mid game, depending on how the game is played. So they're going to grab Blackfeather, who's good into Baron, and either Sky or Taka, depending what they want to do here. Taka's really good into Baron as well, but Sky can pick on Catherine because her forward barrage doesn't proc Catherine's bubble. So let's grab Sky. Now what do? Let's think about this logic. This whole comp is designed to jump onto Baron and delete him, right? So you have two options here. You can either do something that completely ignores that and does its own, like taking Taka, for instance, and just use Taka's ability to jump on Sky to prevent them from jumping on Baron. Like, while they're trying to jump on your hero, you're trying to jump on theirs. But a better option would be to grab a hero that has crowd control. So the comp becomes protect the Baron, right? So something like Glaive, for instance. TP Glaive, cooldown Glaive, is going to have an afterburn up, every 6-7 seconds at the most into the mid game. If Blackfeather is trying to jump on Baron, between this stun and this stun, he can't block through the course of a fight. And once they overextend, once A-side overextends onto you, then you guys can turn this fight around. And once they say they're chasing Baron down, right? That's what their comp wants to do. Once they get too far and you can turn the fight around, you combine that with a silence or something, and they're all trying to run away, then you just isolate any of the targets. It doesn't even have to be the carries. If you isolate Ardan with either an after or stun or both, you just start building stacks with Baron, and your comp wins. What you can't do, once again, let's talk about win conditions. What you can't do is just let them poke on you with Sky without going in, and then let her get stacked and then them jump on Baron. Because if she's already stacked, let's say 5 or more broken mist stacks, and then you start the fight, it's not going to work out well for you. Because he's going to Vanguard Sky to prevent the initial burst damage from Baron and Glaive, and her forward barrage is going to start to hurt. Once Glaive uses Afterburn and doesn't have the mobility he did anymore. So this is You have two choices here. Either support the Baron, which is your ideal way, because their win condition is to attack the Baron, so you heal for him until he starts doing damage. Or you can isolate a target. Like if you catch Sky out, you hit her with an afterburn, and then have Catherine stun her. One auto attack plus the jump ability for Baron, which is 2 more auto attacks on the Sky, should kill her. I mean, unless she's building Metal Jacket early game, which isn't going to happen because Sky needs 3 items to be viable. You're going to win this game. So, like I said, this isn't about if A, then B. This is about thinking through drafts on what's going to make your win conditions more likely to happen than the enemy's win conditions. And there isn't only one way to do this. Like, it didn't have to be Glaive here. Why I'm saying Glaive's good here is because you want extra peel for Baron because they drafted purposely against Baron. We'll do one more here, and let's try to switch this up. I still want to give them Ardan because you said that's what you're having trouble with, and I want to teach you how to not have Ardan be an issue. So let's say they, I don't know, Ben Lyra. You guys ban Baron like you said you've been. Give Ardan. I don't know what your hero pools are either. That could affect this. But I highly suggest if they do this, grabbing Vox. Because Vox is the strongest laner on the board still at this moment. Assuming your partner can play Vox. You mentioned that you like to play CP Fortress. I'm not really sure why. He's not the strongest CP jungle right now. He's a very specific pick against a team that either has healers on it, and you're trying to apply mortal wound stacks to multiple heroes, something like that. So let's not pick said that you have been picking, and let's grab something else. Remember, I don't think we've taken Lance. So we grab Lance and Vox. The reason you're grabbing Lance here is like he's good into Ardan because he can stun him out of Gauntlet. He brings a lot of peel for Vox, and he counters a lot of the laners that are left on the board. Even if they take Gwen, who can skedaddle out of his root, Skedaddle's cooldown compared to Impale's cooldown is, I think it's double. Her Skedaddle cooldown is double. And Vox is pretty good, at least in the current meta, pretty good into Gwen. So what do they pick here? No matter what they pick, you can counter it. Let's do Samuel for them. Right, so they have a lot. Both their heroes outrange Vox, at least his initial auto attacks. So you have a lot of choices here. Like I said, there's no one way to do this, and I'm not trying to tell you to do it one specific way. But if you grab something like Kashka, you can jump onto either of the jungle or the carry on the other team and do a couple empowered attacks with Kashka. And then when Ardan vanguards either of those heroes that's getting bursted, Kashka's got enough in her kit to be able to switch targets. So say she uses her B before the fight starts, has 2 empowered attacks, Samuel with an A-B combo, and then she backs out because he vanguards Samuel. Samuel uses Drifting Dark, right? And this is where the CC from Lance comes in. CC and blocking. You wait till the Drifting Dark's down to re-engage, and then anybody you re-engage on by that point, you should be able to take them down. And they have really no way to jump deep onto you. And if you're playing to your win conditions, even if they play to their win conditions, you should win. I think at least. Not in 2-ban draft mode, but in 1-ban draft mode, I think B-side's because you always get to counterpick. So if you're thinking about your drafts, unless there was one hero that's so much stronger than everybody else that if you get that hero, you win. And I don't think Ardan's like that. I do think he's one of the strongest two roams, but I don't think he's so strong that if you get him, you automatically win. So because you're able to counterpick, if you think through your drafts on B side, this should be your higher win rate side. So that gave you a few things to think about. I know I talked a lot, but I was trying to get you in the mind of drafting to win and not just drafting to your comfort picks. Part of this comes into hero pools. If you're a lower tier player and I've picked heroes that you didn't even think were viable, rewatch it and see why I said those heroes would be good.
Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks for watching. If you have draft questions like this one, submit them to me on Twitter or even in the comments, and I might make a video explaining how I would go about solving your question. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you on the fold.